Burnout is about your job, not your people, and it's the canary in the coal mine of your business model.
I think decision fatigue's another one. Constant micro decisions if you're the only one taking decisions.
Build resilience, make sure you get some sleep, that exercise.
I think another interesting thing suggested here is as part of that is to have a stop list as well. What are the things you say no to?
Protecting your energy. So work
out
out what gives you energy and drains you energy.
So I thought I could give a quick update on the Firepit.
Yes, I need an update on the Firepit.
It's interesting actually, I've had quite an overwhelmingly positive response to Firepit conversations.
From the people in part of those conversations?
From everybody that I talked to about it, with the whole idea around getting the family around the Firepit and telling stories and doing that. And I happened to be in the local butcher's, so I'm trying to get sponsored.
You eat so much meat.
Yeah. So I was in there and I was telling her about the lady who owns it with her husband, and I said, this is what I'm doing with this Firepit, and have you got any meat for me? And so
well, you've come to the right place.
No, so I'm looking for a piece of beef to roast over my Firepit. And she goes, well, how much do you want? I said, I don't know, like this much. Like just made, for those listening, that's
right. You made a gesture.
A gesture of about a couple of hands. Ball. Yeah. Yeah, rugby ball type shape. Yeah. So she cut me a load off. She put it
Here's a cow.
She put it on the scales, and I think she still had her hand on the scales. Old butcher's trick there. But I didn't know that. And it was a lot of money, and I thought, I hope that's not the actual price anyway. Once I told her the story of what I was going to do with it in the Firepit, she even threw in a bag of chicken wings. I've got a deal. I felt I was on my way. So I took a load of video of it and pictures and things, took it in for them to put on their social media.
Oh,
so it was so good.
That's a good idea.
And then the chappie was there, and he was like, yeah, I was wondering why, she'd given you that cut really, because it was actually a really good cut. It was the picana, so that's the bit in Mexican cooking and Latin America, but that's the picana cut is the kind of prime bit of rump, the tip of the rump.
Wow.
So that's the prime cut in Mexican cooking. But I got to say, it was probably, you can tell my son is your classic middle class child when he said, this is the best steak I've had since I had that A5 Wagyu. So, which I will point out that we bought from Aldi's for his birthday. Yeah. As a treat. We don't frequent high-end restaurants giving our 12-year-old son Wagyu.
So given that you've already been sponsored to the tune of a bag of chicken wings, are you expecting the rate to go up now you've supplied them?
Well, I'm hoping I could, I'm trying to get some sort of, at least if I could get some favour or discount or whatever. Yeah. So once I have, you'll know, because I'll start mentioning their name, you see. So
we can't mention it until
my agent has said,
other butchers are available. Everybody don't necessarily flock to that one that we're not
naming. I would say support your local butcher.
Well, support your local shop.
Support your local shops, support your local butchers. When they're gone, and you're not going to get it back.
I used Jessop's around the corner the other day. Oh, I mentioned their name now. I used a local, not quite independent camera shop, but I didn't buy it online. That was the point. I went in and because they could demonstrate the camera and they can talk you through it, and he was showing me some photos that have been taken from it. Much better service, isn't it?
Yeah, and so
we all chase. Oh, I can get £5 cheaper somewhere else. Yeah, but what's that?
I actually quite enjoy now. I go every Saturday down to the butcher's, and I make it a little ritual. Go in, get some sausages.
Well, there's a queue outside that butcher. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Right. So okay. Well, thank you very much for the update. Is the festoon lighting coming into its own?
Festoon lighting's coming on well. Yeah, it's all good.
Looking good. What's some photos of that?
All good in the hood.
Good. Excellent. Right. Back to the Business of the Day podcast. Number 129. So thank you very much for joining us again. This is another episode of the SME Growth Podcast, brought to you from Wellmeadow, based here in the Midlands of the UK. And with me is Rich Buckle.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much again. We're going to talk today in episode 129 about burnout, and burnout specifically around business owners, but actually more generally across anybody. So the topic of burnout. But before we get into the meat of that subject, did you see what I did there?
Very good. Yeah.
That's as good as it gets. We're going to talk about the last 3 episodes. So last week we talked about Roger Martin Fagg.
We did, and last week I made a mistake. See what I did there? Because I couldn't read my own handwriting as I was recalling the previous episodes. So this time I've written it in all caps so I can read what I've written.
That's continuous improvement for you, without the help of AI.
So yeah,
I wonder if AI can read your writing.
No way.
It can apparently translate what cats are saying.
Can it?
Yeah, read this of the week.
Well, I took a quick photo of it, slight detour, dear listener. But in this week's Harvard Business Review, or this month's Harvard Business Review, do you know that in 2025, the top 3 uses for AI?
Go on.
Number 1, therapy and companionship.
Wow.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
Number 2, organising my life.
Yeah.
And number 3, finding purpose.
That is incredible.
Amazing.
I'm quite heartened, really, because I keep seeing these Instagram ads saying, stop using ChatGPT for trivial stuff. Use it, teenagers are making millions already. But it's interesting to know that people are using it for more meaningful things than just a search.
Therapy and things. So you'll know when I've started using it for therapy, because it will just stop working.
You break it. I think it's good at education as well, explaining things to people, giving people easy ways to remember stuff.
So
helping me fix my
isn't it?
TV at the moment. My TV is 5 years old. It's gone on the blink. Stopped working. So I asked ChatGPT to give me a list of all the likely reasons with an accompanying how do I test for that. And I've just bought another circuit board off eBay, and I'll tell you next week whether that's worked or whether I've.
So I sense a triggers broom coming on here.
Yes, or redecorating the front room to cover up the smoke stains on the ceiling after my DIY. So sorry, we digress.
So
128.
128
was Roger Martin Fagg.
Roger Martin Fagg
quarterly economic update.
So Trump tariffs and taxes.
That's very topical.
That
that was last week, wasn't it?
So then episode 127 was how healthy is your pipeline. So that was our sales pipeline
what
review.
Should you have on your dashboard?
Dashboards.
How do you do due diligence? How do you view someone else's pipeline and your own? Yep.
And then 126 was disrupted and exposed, and that was not about a night out in Shrewsbury. It was about an IT. If there was an IT internet outage,
which also could have been Shrewsbury, based on some experiences we've had with local building works.
Absolutely.
Yes, could you though, assuming that the power on the phones are still working but the internet isn't, could you quickly fail over to manual systems to continue business? Okay, that was interesting. Okay, so they were the last 3. I didn't leave you any riddles, conundrums, or hanging punchlines from last week, so we can go straight into this week's episode, which is quite a serious episode anyway, so maybe that's fitting.
Burnout.
So burnout. Burnout it's a phrase that's come about, I think, to talk about, I don't know, people getting overloaded, but there's a bit of a definition of it, isn't there?
Well, I thought it was interesting. In 2019, the World Health Organization actually issued a defined definition.
A defined definition.
A defined definition.
Was it a definitively defined definition?
It was definitively defined, yeah. So they said it's a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not yet been successfully managed.
So I think the point about chronic workplace stress, chronic is often misunderstood. It's in medical terms. It just means something that lasts a long time, doesn't it? As opposed to acute. So it's not something that just happens because you've had a bad day. Chronic means day after day, month after month, long term. So chronic workplace stress.
They say key symptoms include emotional exhaustion, cynicism or detachment, or a decreased sense of accomplishment or a lack of performance. So I would imagine Mrs. Buckle would probably say that I've been burnt out since about 2006, probably.
Well, I think we all go through ups and downs. That's natural, isn't it? That's the biorhythms of life. What this is talking about, I'd say quite a serious subject, is where it lasts for long enough that it becomes a problem. So it's not managed. So what is stress? Some people say, I thrive on stress. This becomes a problem when you can't manage it anymore. Okay, so stress is different from strain, isn't it? If you're an engineer. So it's, the pressures put upon you, if you can manage them, fine, that's not burnout.
And I think as well, maybe like for entrepreneurs and business owners, there is a tendency to try and I think there's a part where you have to absorb it. I think there's an amount of stress you do have to absorb. That just comes with the
part of the job,
part of the gig. But I think there's also almost this kind of like hustle mindset, or I'm the only one that can do everything kind of mindset that actually means that things like burnout can slip under the radar. And I think oftentimes you don't realise it till maybe it's too late.
I think that's true. The bit that I was really sparked by on the notes for this week's episode was that Harvard Business Review quote from 2021. Now, I didn't see it at the time, but I quite like it. Burnout is about your job, not your people. And it's the canary in the coal mine of your business model. It was that last bit. It's the canary in the coal mine of the business model. And it's true, isn't it? Because if, let's say you could have as many people as you wanted, regardless of affordability, then all the things that you're worried about not getting done, you just take on somebody else who is perfectly skilled for the job and get to do it. So it's only that tension between the fact that you can't afford the full team and that everybody's therefore wearing multiple hats, which is typical of a small firm. And it's your business model that's wrong, or at least causing the stress. Maybe it's not wrong. Maybe you can't do anything about it when you're small. You can't afford to have 50 people on the team when you can only afford 5. But it is a sign that you've got to think about your business model and what you're asking different people to do. And maybe you're just asking too many people to do too much for too little money from the customer to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting.
It's an interesting link to it, isn't it?
Your role and the reality of how you're working.
And actually, it's worth just stepping back and thinking about, what is it, if you are feeling like you are burning out or stressed, is it the business model that's the problem?
So some root causes then. Just being overloaded.
Yep.
Maybe you, maybe other people around you, but just overloaded. Wearing too many hats again. Not being able to delegate. I think this is very common, isn't it? I'm very guilty of this. Nobody else is as good as me at sort of mentality. And therefore, I might as well bloody do it myself.
Yep.
By the time I've explained it to someone else. Have you ever heard me say that?
Just no comments.
You just smiled at me as I said it in a very sort of accusing way.
Well, I felt like we might be having a breakthrough.
No, I was just reading the script. Didn't mean it.
I thought, gosh, this whole episode's been so carefully choreographed.
Just suddenly.
But no.
Gotcha.
No, but I think that's a lot of people. I think as well, if you've started something, especially like as the founder mindset, isn't it? Is that you've grown it. This is how you do it. I think the trick is to say, how do you package up your IP so that someone else can actually do it?
And that they stand a chance of being able to deliver it, like McDonald's classic example
of how they do that.
But they don't tailor your burger because you ask for, other than maybe take the gherkins out.
Yeah.
They don't do too much around tailoring it, do they?
But it's that systemization of it, isn't it? And how do you do that? And so I think that comes down to as well trust as well, isn't it? You've got to have to delegate. You've got to have trust. And then you've got to have psychological safety within your organisation so that people do feel like they can actually. The delegee. Yeah. Is it delegee? The delegee.
If that's not a word, it should be. We've just made it one.
The delegee can, take it on well. Yeah. So,
and the other point is, even with the right organisation structure, you might still have a problem with your business model in that it's just not satisfying a need enough. Your value proposition doesn't have a market, and that's where you have a lot of pressure on revenue, margins, cash flow, which, despite everybody's best efforts, can't be solved by just organisational design. And that needs a full sort of root and branch review of your business vision and strategy, really. Are you in the right business?
I think decision fatigue is another one. Constant micro decisions. If you're the only one taking decisions, you can't keep that up forever.
It's almost a negative spiral, that the more people see you're prepared to make the smaller and smaller decisions, the more they'll put them on you because it's easier for them. They're never going to get blamed, are they? It's less brain power to work it out. So you've got, as a leader, to be able to push back and say, what would you do? Or I'm too busy to do your best. As long as people don't mind being responsible for the decisions, doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. Back to your psychological safety and that position of trust. I'll let you make the call. If it doesn't turn out well, so be it. You did it with the best of intentions.
But you're going to get decision fatigue if you can't delegate, aren't you? Because you're going to have to. Everything, you're going to bottleneck the whole thing, and then you're going to end up.
It takes quite a lot of brain power just to sort out simple stuff sometimes when you're overloaded.
Yeah. And then chronic uncertainty as well.
Yeah.
Revenue pressures, staffing, market changes, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going with that sort of lack of fit, really, between your value proposition and your market. If it's just not working, it's not yielding enough for you, you're forever chasing the tail and not making enough to cover your costs.
So I think that's kind of a business owner's perspective, but there's also, I think there's things that can definitely cause burnout from the employee or the staff perspective as well. There's an interesting, from another Harvard Business Review back in 2019, I think it was, but they were talking about a chap called Frederick Herzberg's Motivation-Hygiene theory.
Herzberg motivation theory, yes.
So Sounds like you've heard of this before.
Yeah, I did that in my accountancy exams.
Did you? Oh. But I thought it was quite interesting. This is talking about two factors that affect our experience at work. So one is what motivates us. So that drives satisfaction. So meaningful work, recognition, pat on the back, that type of thing, involvement in decisions. Then hygiene factors, which prevent the dissatisfaction. So that's just, have you got a nice office environment, or is your salary right, and working conditions? And
can I change your emphasis on the words there?
You can.
Because when I read that, I thought one is driving satisfaction, and the other one is preventing dissatisfaction.
Right. What did I say?
Is that what you said?
I think that's what I said.
Oh, that's good. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, but if you imagine a 2x2 grid, they're saying that these two things are independent. So just because you don't have dissatisfaction doesn't mean you do have satisfaction. There's a gap.
There's a gap, yeah.
Right. So that's where he's talking about the hygiene factors. They're the things that if you've got them, you don't notice. But if you haven't got them, it's negative. So if you haven't got enough money, for example, or your working conditions are rubbish, or your boss is crap, right? They're the hygiene factors, because without them, you feel bad, but with them, it just seems normal. Whereas the other way around, they're your motivators, where without them, it just seems normal, but with them, they drive more satisfaction. So that's where you get recognition and meaningful work to do and being involved and all that sort of thing. So that's his theory.
So it's how does that relate to sort of burnout and stress? Is that if there's when these basic, so that, like with the hygiene factors, if the basics needs are eroded over time, you can end up with people feeling burnt out. And there was another person, Christina Majlak, who talks about pebbles.
As in Pebbles, the little baby in...
As in the dinosaur program, was it?
Oh, goodness sake, that's the name of that, yes.
But little pebbles in the shoe. So burnout often comes from small, little irritants. So, we no longer offer free coffee. And so... Which actually happened in Mrs. Buckle's work recently.
They turned off the coffee?
They used to get free coffee, and they've stopped it.
The Flintstones?
Flintstones, that's it.
God.
And so...
They turned off the coffee?
They turned off the coffee, which is just one of a little, there's many things that can then build, I think, many pebbles in the shoe. So how do you address your pebbles? The daily micro frustrations, they can be classed as, that gradually grind you down and cause burnout.
So the point of those ones there, the Herzberg ones and Maslach's pebbles and stuff, is that they can apply to anybody, and more so if you're in the middle of a structure where you've got a boss rather than being the boss. This idea of lack of dissatisfaction and lack of things to drive poor satisfaction. The difference between them and the owner of a business is that the owner often ties in their own self-identity and self-worth to the success of the business. And it is one and the same, really. So if your business isn't doing well, even if you're a brilliant business person, brilliant leader, tremendous person even, but if your business isn't doing well, then the business owner takes it too personally.
I think there's a huge thing there around, it's a podcast, isn't it, around identity and business ownership and all that type of thing, and how that gets tied in. I think probably maybe a distinction here is that as a business owner, you're probably slightly more empowered to do something about it. He says, trying to...
Oh, that fly's come over to you now.
That's flying. There we go.
I was trying to ignore
it. So as a business owner, you're more empowered to maybe do something about the burnout.
But the other side of that coin is that if it doesn't get fixed, you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
You feel responsible. So some signs then. What to look for? How do you know whether burnout is a risk for you, or maybe whether you're already suffering from it? And it gives 5 potential things to look out for here. First one being emotional.
Emotional.
I wondered if this was like the Sunday night feeling. You feel bad on a Sunday night because suddenly you've got to go back to work. Some people talk about that Sunday night thing. I've not had that for 20 odd years since I started working for myself. But
I think a loss of enthusiasm as well, isn't it? So you just can't be bothered to just go the extra mile or stay that little bit extra, or
irritable,
just kind of
sadness.
Disconnected. I mean, how many, all the sort of Gallup polls and everything around employee engagement.
Oh yeah, you quoted that the other day.
Stats of 50-60% of people are either, I think something like 20% are actively engaged.
And everyone else is
either neutral or actively disengaging. So that's
the emotional side. Physical side, just being tired and run down all the time. Not getting enough sleep, probably.
Yeah. Frequent illness.
Worrying about it. Can't get sleep because you're thinking through all the things you should be doing the next day.
And I think that's where it starts. Yeah, that's the slow burn of it, isn't it, really?
Which can then lead to illnesses and more susceptible to colds and things, isn't it? Just because you get run down.
And then you can maybe try and so behavioural is the next one. So you're almost self-medicating with caffeine and alcohol.
Yeah, or cigarettes if that's your drug of choice.
Your vice. Working longer hours but producing less.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly the busy fool syndrome there, isn't there? You could just spend longer and longer at work because you convince yourself, I can't now justify leaving because there's so much to be done, but your performance has dropped to such a point.
I think if you get to that, because I think that's just part and parcel, I think, of entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurial ventures. But I think if you do that, you've almost got to give yourself a very specific objective.
If you're going to stay late.
If you're going to stay late and do stuff.
I'll do this only. And
so
then
this is the objective of why I've come in on Saturday morning to do this thing, or work late in the evening, or do whatever, because otherwise it just becomes routine, and you kind of lose that objectiveness.
I think that one of the dangerous ones is this next one, which is more of a cognitive symptom, because its very impact is you're less likely to notice it happening. Your memory will get worse. You won't be able to concentrate. You won't make such clear decisions, which then ends up in this vicious circle, doesn't it, where the very problem itself is causing more of the problem.
Yeah, I think that's particularly if this is probably more, isn't it, for a business owner? If you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got all these decisions to make, but I can't make them, and we've seen that time and time again with clients. Probably not so much recently, but definitely a few years ago. Yeah,
certainly when there were tougher times, post crash and then pre-COVID, and certainly the year after the COVID boom.
And you get that paralysis just because of decision making or. Head in the sand, chicken licking type of...
And even if people have been doing it successfully and effectively for a while, there's a limit. You could do it for 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but there comes a point when it's just too much and you need a break.
Yeah.
And what's the last one? Relationships, relational symptoms.
Neglecting family and friends.
Yeah. And feeling just misunderstood. Nobody else gets it. I'm the only one that's going to solve this because I've got to...
And I was going to look up the episode, but the episode that I did with Tracy Miller might be a good one if people are feeling that way.
Oh, right.
To look up. It was a couple of months ago, so probably somewhere in the 100 and teens, somewhere around that. But that's talking about building communities and being in community. And I think that's where communities for entrepreneurs can be a good source of strength.
We talked about that at the time, didn't we?
Because oftentimes if you are feeling like no one wants to, and we do have people write into the podcast saying that they're in that situation.
I know, we've had that before.
They're on their own and doing this. And so actually having a community maybe gives you a bit of perspective on how, it's not so bad, or I've been through this, you get through it, or you're not alone.
And that you're beating yourself up unfairly, and that other people are in the same situation, even though they're doing the same as you.
Understand that. And then neglecting family and friends, clearly that's what you probably don't want to do. I think oftentimes it is spouses that take the brunt of the entrepreneurial frustration.
I'm sure that's the case.
So no comments there from my wife is listening to this.
Behind every successful person is a very...
But it's important to make sure you're making time for family and friends and things like that.
Yeah. Good. So strategies then, if you feel you might be at risk of dipping into some burnout, what could you do to try and avert that going full blown? So there's a few strategies here. One of them I quite like, just designing your ideal week. Block out some time. As if, if you had an important meeting, let's say with the bank manager or with a big new prospect, you would make that meeting happen and you wouldn't let other things cancel it. And yet when it's your own business you're trying to spend some time on to think about, you easily let that get taken away by someone else's demand.
Yep.
So I think that's create some non-negotiable space.
There's been some research recently, hasn't there, that I've read an article in the papers over the weekend about the ideal day. Scientists have done a sort of what is the scientifically proven or scientifically whatever.
Sounds like a bit of clickbait, but go on.
What's the most scientifically proven ideal day and what's the worst day? And they go through and say it's like 2 hours of exercise followed by 6 hours of social time with family and friends, 6 hours of work maximum. And the guy who's doing the guy did it because I'm going to live this for a day and then I'll live the the non-ideal day. And he said it was actually really stressful as a business owner. Works for himself, freelancer.
Which one was stressful?
Trying to do 6 hours a day of work. Because I normally go to the pub and finish off my work in the evening because the pub's over the road and it fit around his lifestyle and family and whatever. it couldn't do that. So it was actually felt more stressful. I knew I was going to have to catch up.
Yeah.
But then the non-ideal day was sitting around doom scrolling and sitting on the couch sofa and not doing exercise and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, well, the exercise bit I get, although recommending 2 hours a day, that's great to hear, but hard to achieve for a lot of people I know. But I guess to have a 6-hour work day followed by 6 hours of socialising, you've got to have enough mates doing the same thing. Otherwise, they won't be there to socialise with.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a lot of retired friends.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's interesting that's becoming a thing, is almost take charge of your week.
There's the 4-day week thing people are talking about as well. There was that big experiment, wasn't there, a couple of years ago, which I think was self-selecting and was hailed as a success, but maybe it wouldn't work for everybody. But nevertheless, taking a bit more control over it.
I think another interesting thing suggested here is as part of that is to have a stop list as well. What are the things you say no to? And I think that is a major problem of burnout, is that often it's capable people who are willing, who get asked to do stuff, can't say no, keep getting asked, take on the responsibility, take on the, I can do it all, I can't let people down. Don't learn how to say no.
Yeah.
And if you can't say no, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
If you're capable.
I've had roles in the past where that's true. And sometimes it's built into the nature of the role that you can't say no to certain things, in which case it's back to the organisational design being on again.
Business model.
Not expecting people to do too much. Delegation, but not just by giving lots of instructions. Build systems designed to delegate. I think that's a good piece of advice. So if you're seeing something crop up quite often, find a way that automatically it gets delegated, picked up or dealt with some other way.
I think that, again, helps add value into your business, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You want to work yourself out of a job as a business owner. So.
And they're talking there about assigning ownership of KPIs. So rather than just saying, do this task, say, there's the KPI, keep it in that range. Keep this number above that or within that range. And it's your job to do these various things that are at your disposal to keep that on track. And obviously lots of automations and things we can do as well if we can help ourselves with that. Protecting your energy. So work out what gives you energy and drains you energy. We had a discussion with a consultant recently about that, didn't we, with Duncan, who talked about doing that and trying to spend more time on the things that give you energy earlier on in the day, because that will get all the hormones flowing and
get the benefits.
Set up the rest of it.
Yeah, it did make me think about, I don't know, they're probably still around, but I can remember years ago there was almost those, was it like the RAN 1 audits we used to do, where it was a lifestyle kind of, how's your business, how's your family, how's your whatever, your money, your hobbies. I thought, I haven't really seen that for a while actually, but I actually thought about making one on Score App and just thinking, why don't we
plot your balance,
plot where you're at with your life type of thing.
Good idea. And the other one about protecting your energy is using tech boundaries. So if you can, turn off your emails, or you don't have to turn off the email server. You can just not have the app open on your phone, right? And that's something that I've
I was going to say
talked before. I had a couple of weeks away, which I was told there would be absolutely zero internet reception. Turns out there was bits and bobs when you got to the top of a hill here and there. But it wasn't enough to do any work with, and I didn't want to. I'd forewarned clients and colleagues that I wouldn't be contactable for 2 weeks. So even when bits of it came in, to make sure that I didn't get dragged into then, pick up one thing and then it leads to another thing and it would ruin the whole thing, I just didn't open the email app on the phone. Yeah. So I didn't get and I turned all the notifications off as well. So even though I knew it would be there if I needed it in emergency, if I climbed to the top of a hill, I didn't. And as I mentioned in previous episodes, I use an AI email triage agent called Fixer, Fyxer, big plug to them, which goes through my inbox for me and sorts emails into which ones are for more information, which ones need attention, which ones are just marketing emails, which ones junk, that type of thing. And the number of emails that I've come back to that actually need my response is very low, much lower than I thought. So I haven't added them up, but I've got hundreds of emails over the last 2 weeks, as anybody would have. But the number I've actually got to now to deal with on day one back in the office is very low. So that's helped me a lot, because a lot of my stress for going away in the past was around that fear of what I was coming back to. And therefore I try and keep on top of things. What you don't realise, which maybe you do but you don't admit, is that by trying to keep on top of things, you're actually keeping the wheel spinning. And the more you respond to emails, the more people will respond back to you, because they think, he's sort of in the office in his head. And so therefore I can get this answer that I need, or I'll book this time that I want. Whereas if they just get the out of office message, refer to a colleague if there's anything urgent, get back to you when I come back. That's it. And it very quickly dies off.
Well, I think as well, that's back to the whole kind of the mindset of the entrepreneur as well, isn't it? That I'm always working, I'm never off, I'm always, I'm the only one that can solve the problem, all these sorts of things. And you think, well, actually, it's not actually true. And
we are lucky here, though, that we've got a team where we can rely on teammates, and we both cover for each other when we're off, don't we? So that helps a lot. And the number of people I've met in business who say, I wish I had a situation like yours, where you've got someone else who, if you stepped out of the business for a week or two, it's not going to fall apart. You've got someone else who can step into your shoes. A lot of people don't have that. They've got one person at the top and then a hierarchy beneath. So,
but that's maybe back to the business model.
Yeah, good point. Build resilience. Make sure you get some sleep. That exercise.
Yeah,
I'll be off doing my high rocks exercise in the morning.
I'm starting my Viking triathlon.
A Viking triathlon. Do you have to sail across the North Sea?
No, I made it up. It's not an actual thing. I made it up.
Well, it could be
when I was swimming the other day. So rowing, running, and swimming is the main bit of it. But
so you've changed the cycling for the rowing?
Yeah. To me, it just made it sound more interesting.
Yeah, it needs a brand.
And maybe do some hammers work as well.
Yeah. Building some reflection time. I've never really got into the journaling thing.
Yeah, I journal a lot.
You do, yeah, you found it very good. Peer groups, though, I do find that very effective. I'll be going to my quarterly peer group meeting in a couple of weeks' time. Looking forward to seeing your guys. I know you listen, so it'll be good to have an update with all of them. And it keeps you on the level, just mentally.
Yep, and I would say, journal. It's a very good way of getting it out.
Yeah.
If you've got frustration and stuff, journal, get it out.
And is it ever intended to be read by anyone other than you?
Well, you've seen my handwriting.
Couldn't anyway.
I looked at my journal. I've had the same journal since 2018.
Okay.
So I've not always been consistent with it. I've had big gaps and things. But I was looking through it. I've almost come to the end of it now. So I don't know how many pages it is. Probably 300 pages or something. It's quite a big, thick thing. But it is quite interesting to look back over as well.
How much do you write each day?
I don't write in it every day, but sometimes it's just like one line. Sometimes it's like pages. Sometimes it's an idea that I sketch out.
Do you write more when you've got something to get off your chest?
Yeah, because I try and kind of document things.
Right.
But then you can look back and go,
and do you do that? Do you do the reflection bit? You look back at a previous occasion, last time this happened or a year ago today?
Sometimes I just flick through it and just see what was I thinking in 2000 versus 2022 and still moaning. 2023, still moaning.
Old man before your time. Good, excellent. Well, a quick summary then. Block out some time each week, do your stuff. Work out what of your tasks you can delegate, what you can automate, what you can just delete. Create some automations. We talked about that before. We do that in the context of HubSpot, don't we? Creating automations to do things. Join a peer advisory group. And in the short term, name one thing to let go of in the next 2 weeks. There you go.
A delegation plan.
Delegation plan. So, excellent. That's a quick summary then of burnout, especially with business owners, why it happens, what the symptoms are, some practical tasks that you might want to pick up to do about it, and maybe a bit of a plan to overcome it. Good. Very serious topic, though. Thank you very much for covering that.
Yep.
And partly triggered because I've come back from 2 weeks off-grid, fully recharged, ready to take on the world. Stand by. Okay, so thanks again for listening to another episode of the SME Growth Podcast from Wellmeadow. Every week we try and come up with something useful or interesting for owners and managers of small businesses. And if you think that's useful for you, it probably is for someone else. So please tell them all about it. And in the meantime, good luck with your business.